You're not worthy of this family. And that dress? Looks like it came from a cheap clearance sale," said my mother-in-law, throwing me out of her own birthday party in front of everyone. But with a single phone call, I made her regret it bitterly. Mia had always heard that every perfect relationship had its challenges, but nothing could have prepared her for that dinner. She and Gabriel had been together for 2 years, and everything seemed like a dream. He was affectionate, funny, and attentive, at least when they were alone. The proposal had felt like a fairy tale, and in that moment, Mia believed that nothing could shake their love. Then came the first invitation to dinner at her future mother-in-law's house. "Rose. My mother wants to get to know you better," Gabriel said, smiling, not noticing the tension on his girlfriend's face. "And like someone who has never watched a horror movie, thinking everything will be fine," Mia agreed. When she arrived at the Montero mansion, she realized that Gabriel came from a world completely different from hers. Sparkling chandeliers, expensive paintings, a rug that looked softer than her own bed. The kind of house that has a giant couch, but no one can sit on it because it's decorative. She was greeted at the door by Rose, who scanned her from head to toe, like someone evaluating a cheap dress before deciding whether it was worth buying on sale. "So, you're Mia?" Rose emphasized the name as if she struggled to pronounce it, even though it was only 3 letters long. Mia smiled politely. "That's right. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Mrs. Rose." The response was curt, without returning the smile. Rose turned her back and walked toward the living room, clearly expecting Mia to follow. Gabriel, of course, didn't even notice the hostility. Dinner started with a flawless table setting, refined dishes, and an atmosphere so tense it could be cut with the silver knife Rose insisted everyone use. Mia tried to be polite, commenting on the decor and the delicious aroma of the food, but Rose didn't even try to hide her disdain. "So, Mia." The woman's voice was like sweet poison. "What do your parents do for a living?" "My father runs an event hall, and my mother is an art teacher." Rose raised an eyebrow, clearly expecting a different answer. "Maybe my parents are European dukes or they own a luxury hotel chain. But an event hall? Unacceptable." "Interesting," she said, with a fake smile. "Well, respectable, in a way." Mia pretended not to hear the mocking tone. She tried to stay composed, but every minute there was a test of patience. Rose took every opportunity to jab at her. "Gabriel has always liked sophisticated women, hasn't he, dear?" "Ah." Gabriel smiled awkwardly and just stuffed more food into his mouth to avoid answering. "You know, Mia," Rose continued mercilessly, "our family has always maintained a very high standard. People who know how to behave, engage in refined conversations, understand wines and etiquette. Do you drink wine, dear?" "Yes, sometimes." Must be the sweet kind, right?" Rose smirked, clearly implying that Mia didn't have the sophisticated palate of the family. "Gabriel?" Completely silent. Mia took a deep breath. She wasn't stupid. She knew what Rose was doing. But she still believed that, over time, she could win her over. After all, what mattered was the love between her and Gabriel, right? "You don't have the sophistication necessary to be part of this family." Mia's fork froze mid-air. The room fell into an awkward silence. Everyone was waiting for a reaction. She looked at Gabriel. The man who said he loved her. Her fiancé. The guy who promised to protect and support her. He looked away. Went back to eating as if nothing had happened. And right then, for the first time, Mia felt that maybe she was making a huge mistake. Mia should have run away that night. She should have taken a good look at Gabriel, recognized his lack of backbone, turned around, and never looked back. But she didn't. She clung to the hope that things would get better. That Rose just needed time to accept her. That Gabriel would eventually take her side. Biggest mistake of her life. The wedding happened, but the honeymoon lasted less than a flash sale. It didn't take long for Mia to realize that when she said "I do" at the altar, she didn't just marry Gabriel. She married his mother, too. Because Rose simply never left their house. She showed up unannounced, walked in like she owned the place, and made a point of making her daughter-in-law's life a living hell. "Wow, Mia, this living room is such a mess," she'd say, even when everything was spotless. "You don't really know how to cook, do you? Poor my son, having to eat this stuff." "Oh, so you decorated the house this way? How interesting. And Gabriel?" "Mom, let's go easy." That was the most he could muster before changing the subject, dodging the problem like a cat avoiding water. Mia tried to stay patient. She tried to talk to Gabriel. "Love, your mother treats me like garbage in my own home. You need to do something." "Oh, babe. She just has a difficult personality. But deep down, she likes you. If that's what liking me looks like, I'd rather she outright hated me." He always brushed it off. And with every new visit from Rose, Mia felt she was on the verge of a breakdown. One day, Rose arrived and found Mia finishing dinner. "Wow, what's that?" "Beef stroganoff." "Oh. My son never liked simple dishes like that. But, well, he'll get used to it." Mia closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and pretended not to hear. But Rose never stopped. The next day, Gabriel forgot his lunch at home. When Mia called to let him know, she heard his response, "No need, love, my mom already brought me lunch." That was the last straw. Mia cried alone in the bathroom. It wasn't just about Rose. It was about Gabriel not lifting a finger to defend her. He watched the humiliations happen and thought it was normal. As if it were Mia's duty to endure everything for the sake of keeping the peace. And she realized that if things continued like this, soon there would be nothing left of her except a sad shadow inside that house. But then came an unexpected announcement. "Love, my mom is throwing a huge party for her 50th birthday." And there, Mia saw a chance. One last chance. If she could win over Rose this time, maybe things would change. Maybe Gabriel would finally see that she was trying. Maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. Mia had heard of women who did everything to be accepted by their husband's family. Some tried to cook their mother-in-law's favorite dish. Others showered the old hag with compliments, pretending admiration. She, on the other hand, was organizing an entire party. If even that wasn't enough to win Rose over, then the woman must have a block of ice where her heart should be. When Gabriel announced that his mother was planning a grand celebration for her 50th birthday, Mia saw a chance to turn the tables. "I want to help with the organization," she said, determined. Gabriel blinked, surprised. "Are you sure? My mom can be demanding." "I am. If I do something grand for her, maybe she'll finally accept me. Maybe I can finally live in peace." But peace and Rose were two things that could never exist in the same place. Still, Mia threw herself into the mission. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to endure a marathon of humiliations disguised as suggestions from her mother-in-law. The venue chosen for the party was one of the most luxurious in the city, with massive chandeliers and a space so refined that even the air felt more expensive inside. What Rose didn't know was that the owner of the venue was none other than Mia's father. And Mia made sure not to tell her. She would save the surprise for the grand finale. In the following days, Mia took over the entire event organization. If Rose wanted luxury, she would get luxury. And her demands were endless. "The cake needs to have at least 5 tiers. I don't want anything modest. Already taking care of it. No tacky decorations, please. I'll choose something sophisticated. The catering must be exquisite. My God, I hope they're not serving stroganoff." Mia felt her blood boil, but smiled at the request. "Don't worry. It will be unforgettable," said Mia's father, without anyone knowing she was behind it all. And so it went. She spent weeks taking care of every detail. She held meetings with vendors, visited decorators, ensured that everything was perfect. She lost sleep, got stressed, but stayed firm. Gabriel? Well, Gabriel only showed up to say useless things like, "Wow, babe, you're so focused on this." And then disappeared again, as usual. The night before the party, Mia looked around at the fully prepared venue and, for the first time, felt proud. "This time, she'll have to accept me," she whispered to herself. But she had no idea that Rose already had other plans. On the day of the party, Mia went all out. She wore an elegant dress, flawless makeup, her hair in a sophisticated updo. She looked stunning. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she felt that, this time, there was no way Rose could criticize her. "Let's see what she comes up with now," she murmured, grabbing her purse. Mia should have sensed trouble the moment she stepped into the party. The venue was impeccable. The decor, breathtaking. Everything was perfectly organized, thanks to her. But when her eyes met Rose's, she realized that all her effort meant absolutely nothing. Her mother-in-law looked her up and down and smiled. Not a kind smile. But the kind that comes before a strike. "Darling." Rose tilted her head, pretending to be surprised. "What an interesting dress." Mia felt her muscles tense. She knew what was coming. But before she could respond, Rose snapped her fingers, drawing the attention of her rich, shallow friends. "Ladies, look at this. Isn't it adorable when people try to dress up for a sophisticated event?" The women around her laughed. Some tried to hide it. Others didn't even bother. Mia swallowed hard. She wasn't going to fall for this provocation. She took a deep breath and replied, keeping her voice firm, "Good thing I tried, then. Because imagine coming to a party like this and not being up to the occasion? That must be humiliating." The mockery in Rose's eyes intensified. She loved this game. Loved testing Mia's limits, waiting for the moment her daughter-in-law would finally give up. "Oh, but I understand, dear." Rose continued, pretending to be sympathetic. "Not everyone is lucky enough to be born with good taste. But don't worry, you'll learn one day." More laughter. Now, even some nearby guests were watching. Mia turned to Gabriel. He was there, seeing everything unfold. And, as always, did nothing. "But let's be honest, everyone." Rose turned to the guests. "She doesn't quite fit in with this environment, does she?" A murmur spread through the crowd. Some exchanged awkward glances. Others simply laughed along, enjoying the show. "Maybe you should leave, dear." Rose smiled. "We wouldn't want anyone to feel out of place." The room fell silent. Mia felt her chest tighten. This time, Rose had gone too far. But there was still one last hope. She turned to Gabriel. Her husband. The one who should have defended her. Who should have stood between her and this public humiliation. He lowered his head. Said nothing. Did nothing. And when Mia asked him directly, "Aren't you going to say anything?" he simply sighed and muttered, "My mother is right." That was enough. Right then and there, Mia shattered inside. The love? Dead. The hope? Turned to dust. But in place of despair, something new emerged. An uncontrollable fury. Rose wanted a spectacle? Well, Mia would give her one. With her phone still in hand, she heard her father's firm voice on the other end of the line after she told him everything that had happened. "Are you sure about this, sweetheart?" "Absolutely." Mia didn't hesitate. "This party is over. Right now." She hung up and calmly placed her phone in her purse, with the certainty of someone who knew exactly what was about to happen. The venue, once filled with malicious laughter and arrogant stares, was now buzzing with curiosity. Mia no longer showed any sign of shame or sadness. Not anymore. And then, in less than 10 minutes, the grand doors of the venue swung open with force. They had arrived. Her father's staff marched in, followed by the man himself, a figure of strong presence, who didn't need to raise his voice to be heard. But now, he made sure to be loud and clear. He stepped onto the stage set up for the event and took the microphone with the ease of someone who knew they were about to change the game. "Attention, ladies and gentlemen." His voice echoed through the venue. "I have an important announcement to make." The guests froze, surprised. Some already sensed that something big was about to happen. Rose, on the other hand, was livid. "What is this man doing here?" she screeched, storming towards him. But before she could go any further, he raised a hand and continued speaking, unfazed. "This party is officially cancelled." The shock was instant. The entire venue fell into silence. Rose's eyes widened. "What?" Mia's father slowly turned to face the audience and continued, unhurried, "My daughter has just been thrown out of this event for not being sophisticated enough to be here. The problem, my dear guests, is that she is the daughter of the owner of this venue. And if my daughter isn't welcome here, then neither is anyone else." The venue erupted into murmurs. Some people began to stand, grabbing their purses, realizing that things were about to take a dramatic turn. Rose, now trembling with rage, pointed a shaking finger at him. "You can't do this." The man laughed. A short, cold laugh. And then, without saying a word, he took an envelope out of his pocket and opened it, pulling out some papers. "I can, yes. And I do it with great pleasure." He handed the documents to Rose, who took them as if she were holding a bomb about to explode. Is this the fine for breaking the contract?" She stammered. "That's right." The man shrugged. "But don't worry, this money means nothing to me." Mia watched everything with immense satisfaction. For the first time, she saw Rose being humiliated in front of everyone. And Gabriel? He stood there, frozen, pale. Maybe because, for the first time, he realized what he was about to lose. Without even looking at him, Mia turned to her father and said, "Tomorrow morning, send a truck to my house. I'm leaving." Her father smiled, satisfied. "Consider it done." The next morning, a moving truck stopped right in front of Gabriel's house. Mia didn't hesitate. No tears. No regrets. No looking back. She had already spent too many nights crying alone, hoping her husband would find the courage to stand up for her. But the truth? He never would. And now, he was about to learn the hard way what happens when a man doesn't value the woman he has. "What's going on?" Gabriel's sleepy voice came from behind her. Mia didn't even need to turn around to know he was in shock. She just kept folding her clothes and placing them in her suitcase with the calmness of someone who had already made the right decision. "I'm leaving," she replied, without even glancing at him. "What?" Gabriel's eyes widened. "What do you mean you're leaving?" Mia finally turned to him. "Exactly what you heard. I'm done, Gabriel. I'm done being humiliated while you just stand there, watching, as if none of this has anything to do with you." He ran a hand over his face, nervous. "Baby, calm down, it was just a rough moment, just a rough moment?" Mia repeated, incredulous. 2 years putting up with your mother stepping all over me, and you never did anything. You think that was just a rough moment?" Gabriel opened his mouth, but found no words. Because there was no excuse. And he knew it. Mia went back to packing while the movers started carrying boxes outside. Rose appeared at the door in a hysterical fit. "This is absurd. Do you think you can just leave? You should be on your knees thanking us for letting you into this family." Mia laughed. A short, humorless laugh. She turned slowly, facing her mother-in-law one last time. "Marrying into this family was the worst mistake of my life. And now, I'm fixing it." Rose turned red with anger. "You were never worthy of my son." Mia raised an eyebrow. And your son was never worthy of me. Gabriel swallowed hard. Because hearing the truth hurt. The boxes were all loaded. Everything was ready. Mia grabbed her purse and took one last look at the place where she had wasted so much of her life. She didn't feel sadness. Just relief. She got into her father's car and left. Without looking back. When she arrived at her parents' house, her mother welcomed her with open arms. Stay as long as you need, sweetheart. Mia finally felt the weight lift from her shoulders. Her father, with a proud look, added, when the time is right, the right person will come along. And Mia smiled. She didn't know what the future held, but she was sure of one thing: she would never let anyone walk all over her again. And this time, she was free to start over. Mia walked away with her head held high, leaving Gabriel and Rose behind. In the end, he lost his wife because he never had the courage to stand up for her, and Rose learned the hard way that looking down on someone can come at a high price. And now, tell me, what do you think about men who are tied to their mother's apron strings? Have you ever met someone like that? Subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one.